people. All right. Oh, Heather. Oh my gosh. I just see you all bright with your bright colors behind you. I don't know if you guys have been to her website, but it is like such a trip. Like, it's just so much fun just to even like look at it. So your whole background is perfect for you. All right, so before we dive in, I'm gonna hand the mic over to the amazing Heather, who's over in Ireland. Can everyone appreciate the fact that I'm finally on the same time zone as a guest expert in this call? I'm always like hosting these at like the most random times because of this issue. All right, so I want to talk a little bit, real brief, about how I know Heather, because I think it aligns with the big topic inside of What the Heck to Post right now, which is community building, right? And really focusing on collaborating with people in your community. That's been a big focus for all of us in What the Heck to Post and in our other environments that we're a part of. And something that I was hearing a lot about from you guys was you wanted to grow your community. You wanted to find people in a fun and engaging way. You wanted to build them in an interactive way so that they actually felt like in relationship with you. And I know from personal experience with my clients, list building has been very successful when using quizzes because they're bringing people into their community when they're already interactive, right? When they're already engaged, like they're basically training them to be an engaged member versus just a passive member. And so because I had seen so much success, I was curious within the membership if people were interested in building quizzes, like how people felt about that. So I just kind of put some random posts one day out wondering, how do people feel about quizzes? And a lot of people were like super interested, want to know more. So as soon as I got that information, I went into the various groups that I'm a part of and I asked I did two things. One, I posted in Facebook groups and I said, who has expertise on quizzes? And another, I had some databases that we're creating within What the Heck to Post, everyone. So pretty soon you're gonna have this within What the Heck to Post. I went to some databases and I looked for quiz experts and I found Heather. Now, Heather and I didn't know each other, but I reached out to her and I said, Heather, what would you think about getting on a connection call and just chatting for 15 minutes? Now, Heather didn't know that I was looking for someone who A, knew her stuff, but B, was cool, okay? Like I want someone who I wanted to hang out with for an hour and bring into the community. So we had a connection call. We realized we definitely vibed. And now we have the opportunity to support one another within a collaborative setting for we can help each other help more people. So for me, I just wanted to give you a little bit behind the scenes because this has been a huge topic for us. On one way you can tap into your communities, let them serve your people so that you can just, like I said, help one another, help as many people as possible. It's going to serve both of your businesses in the long run, and it's a great win-win for your communities as well. So I just wanted to give you some behind the scenes. Without further ado, let's bring our guest expert on all the way from Ireland. Heather, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yep, that's me unmuted, Sophia. Thank you so much. All the way from actually quite a sunny Ireland today, but you might notice from my accent, I'm actually English. So I'm just they call it a blow-in here. I'm a blow-in. But yeah, and I'm just actually on the color. It's funny because it's quite a recent business for me. It's my second business. And my other business is dark greens and blues. But there was always just something about quizzes that kind of lent itself to, that beautiful pop art imagery that's out there in the colors. So hence, this is my first ever pink sweatshirt. And look, it's amazing, the match. But yeah, so will I share my screen, Sophia, and just, so welcome. So as Sophia said, and firstly, Sophia, thank you so much for inviting me along to talk to your group. But the one thing we decided that would be a brilliant thing to talk to you about, as Sophia talked about, was this idea that, in my opinion anyway, a quiz is the number one way to find an audience, and not only an audience, but an audience that is right for you, and that is going to, if they sign up to your email list, is going to be the exact right person that you want on your list. And throughout today, I'll kind of explain why that is. But as Sophia said, any questions, just jot them down and we can obviously go through those at the end. So let's start with a quiz. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can see my mail there. I don't think you can see that. So we'll start with a quiz, will we? So what on earth brought you here today? So I understand some of you are up at some unearthly hour, and I'm thinking, I don't know exactly why you're here, but maybe You already know that a quiz is right for your business, but you just don't know where to begin. Maybe you've tried a quiz before, but it just didn't work, or it's just a bit blah, just didn't really do what it wanted for you, or you're just intrigued. You love quizzes, you've seen them around, and you just need to know more. So I'm guessing that you're one of these three different types of people. But what I want today for your results, just from this half an hour or so we've got together, is I want to take you from a confused Brittany to an absolutely killing it Brittany. And what we're going to do, I'll just take you through quickly today, is I'm going to explain how a quiz could work its magic for your business. And I honestly believe every single business out there could have a quiz, whether it's an online business, whether it's a service business, whether it's e-commerce, and even whether it's the tiny little coffee shop where I live in Ballyclare that I wrote a quiz for. A quiz can work for 99% of businesses. I'm pretty sure of that. Yes.
I don't know if anyone else is seeing this, but there's like a square on the screen on my end, and it's blocking some of the text. So
Is that better?
That's better. Does everyone else see everything clearly? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that.
Oh, no, thank you.
No, you're so welcome.
It was the box that showed me, but it must be doing something funny. Right, we'll plow ahead. Are you all okay now, guys? Sorry about that.
Yeah, that works. It's on the edge now, but that's fine. It's not covering any text. All right, just didn't want to interrupt the presentation.
No, not at all. It must, anyway, doesn't matter. Let's go. And then, so sorry, I'm going to just explain how it can work a magic for you. I'm going to introduce you at the end actually to the quiz model canvas, which is a framework I've developed, which helps you get everything you need onto paper to write your quiz before you even begin. And then, of course, I'm going to give you some secrets to top performing quizzes, because as I'm sure you'll agree, there are some pretty terrible ones out there. Okay, so this is how it all began for me. So this is me a couple of years ago, before the pandemic. And I used to run events for businesses that used creativity and the arts. So this is me running a big community kind of Christmas light switch on in a shopping centre in Belfast. I absolutely loved it. It was always in my element. But obviously come March a couple of years ago, that all ground to a halt. And so what I decided to do was to develop a course that would help artists and creatives work with businesses. So in the past, I'd been brokering relationships for them, but I wanted to teach them how to do it themselves. And I'd come up with a few different lead magnets, PDFs, mini kind of trainings, but they weren't really doing that well for me. And they were a tough market to crack. So what I decided to do was I came across quizzes, loved it, you know, from teenage years of taking them in Just 17, Jackie magazine, as we'd have here, just loved the concept of a quiz. So I came up with this idea for a quiz for artists and creatives, which was called Which Creative Superhero Are You? And the idea of this quiz, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later as well, was to teach artists and creatives what they could do, how they could work with businesses. So that was the key area of it. And it did really, really well for me. So, and it's funny because these are quite modest results now compared to some that I've written for clients, but I put it out, I put Facebook ads out to it, and I always forget what I spent, $50. And I did it over a period of 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, I had 90 leads come in. So even me, with my very limited kind of digital marketing experience at that time, knew that these were pretty good numbers. My cost per click was at 22 cents. And at some point during the campaign, it was actually low as 16 cents. And my cost per lead was sitting at about less than $2 anyway. So I knew I was kind of onto something. And it was actually paying off as well with my return on investment. So again, these are quite modest figures, which is fun, but I sold 11 on the basis of that campaign. I sold 11 of my course, which was £77, which generated me a return on investment of £924. So for a $50 ad spend, plus quite a bit of time, don't get me wrong, these kind of results were pretty encouraging. So I started thinking about it, telling people what I was doing, and people started asking me to help them with their quizzes. So I mentioned the little coffee shop in Ireland that we wrote this Which Christmas Coffee Are You quiz. And people, as I say, started asking me to do it. So I was like, do you know what? There's nothing going on in events land. I'm just going to run with this. And so Kill It With Quizzes was born. And I literally threw my bright, colourful website up in about a weekend because I thought, you know, what else? I'll put it out there and see how it goes. And it's gone really well. So in the last year or so, I've now written quizzes for these businesses and a few more actually since. So there's a whole range. Now, these are quite UK. So Shar and Lizzie Goddard would be quite well-known coaches here in the UK. So quite a few coaches, a wealth coach. There's my Christmas quiz. I've written a quiz for an artisan perfumer, a job platform in Abu Dhabi, a shopping centre, whole range of different things. So I think apart from me saying, look at all these things I've done, this, as I say, is probably an indication that you can write a quiz for almost any business, because we have kind of, oh, and this is a t-shirt company. So we kind of have products here, and then we have services, and quite a few doctors. I seem to be attracting the doctors, but make of that what you will. So yeah, and this is probably to date my most successful quiz. So this was a quiz I wrote for a clinical psychiatrist who specializes in anxiety and mental health. And she has a product which is an overthinking toolkit. So it's a range of different ways to stop yourself overthinking. So to lead to that product, we came up with this quiz for Michaela. She's called Dr. Michaela Dunbar. And if you look at her results here, so what you're seeing here is the back end of Interact, which is the platform that I use. And so in that month period in June to July, she got 778 leads on the back of this quiz. So 1,888 starts, 779 completions, 1,888 views, 1,500 starts, and 778 leads from that quiz. So those are really, really good results for her. And the thing to note about that quiz is that was all from organic activity. So she was putting it out on her Instagram page, mentioning it on podcasts, all that kind of thing. So that's where we kind of got to. So first things first, why would you need a quiz? So with the businesses that I've worked with, or the individuals I've worked with, there seem to be three key reasons. Now, the first one is to grow your audience or fuel your launch, which I know you guys are all really interested in. As I said before, it's a really ideal way to grow your audience because it's fun, it's easy to access, and you can make it so personalized that people feel like they're having an experience with you whilst they're taking the quiz. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through. Secondly, a quiz is brilliant just to help people to know how brilliant you are, how awesome you are. Because you can make it so personalized and you can put in elements of your expertise and your personality, there it is, and because people are actually going to have fun while they take it, it's just the perfect mechanism to get your personality and get your expertise out there. And finally, it can help your customer overcome analysis paralysis. So by that, I mean, particularly if you're e-commerce, so you're selling a product and you have different options for your customer to choose, or if you've got a range of different services that you offer to people and they don't know which to choose, a quiz is absolutely perfect to help them make that decision and actually purchase something with you. Plus, of course, you're going to look really cool. Not everyone has a quiz, especially here in the UK. There's far less quizzes out there at the moment. I know there's more in the States, but they're still the best lead magnet to have to kind of make you stand out from the rest. Okay, so this is why I think quizzes are awesome. And apologies if anybody did check out my website, because I've lifted this directly from that, but it's the best explanation, I think. So firstly, quizzes entice. So everyone loves a quiz because it's a key psychological fact that people like finding out about themselves. It's not vanity, it's just human nature, but the one thing you want to know most about is you. So that's why quizzes easily entice people into your world. So long as you get your hook right, people are going to want to take the quiz. So it's really good for getting a lot of people at the top of your funnel because it's an easy sell. It's not another PDF lead magnet. It's not another training. It's a simple, fun mechanism to entice people into your world. Secondly, they engage. So if you write it well, it should be a fun experience for your customer or your ideal quiz taker. So people will enjoy taking it. And that means they're going to share it with their friends or they're going to talk about it. And they're also going to get to know, like, and trust you during the process. So they probably are, I think, the number one fun lead magnet that there is. And the best way to kind of engage and keep your ideal client kind of interested during the process of consuming your lead magnet. The next really good thing about quizzes is that they teach. So I always find this, I model this one up with segment, but teach is the fact that when someone is taking your quiz, you can teach them about what it is you do, your product or your service. And I'll show you an example of that, how it works. And you do it through the answer and question sets and the way you present the information to people. So this is an example of that for you. So this is a quiz by Shanti Zak. Some of you may have come across her. She's my mentor in quizzes in all things quiz, and she's just brilliant. She's just probably absolutely top of her game in terms of quizzes, though she doesn't write for people anymore, although she did write Amy Porterfield's quiz and Jenna Kutcher's and everything. But back to the point. So she wrote this. I think this is an absolutely brilliant quiz question. So what is it about quizzes that you find most enticing? Choose as many as you'd like. So what she's done here is she's asked a question, but in the process of answering the question, you need to read the answers. So if you look at what she's done, she's basically listed all the benefits of having a quiz. So just by reading that question, her quiz taker learns that quizzes are a really good thing to do. So you can do the same with whatever it is you're offering by making a simple question at the top and then listing the benefits as to why the person taking the quiz would want to either buy that service or work with you. Finally, quizzes are awesome because they're all about learning. So they learn about themselves, obviously, because you're going to give them an outcome or a result, but you also get to learn about them. So you can use quizzes to find out some really key, crucial information about your market or your potential market. And then you can use that to develop perfect products and content for them. So you can do it in a really clever way. It's the same way you may survey an audience, but you're doing it in a fun way. They don't really necessarily realize they're being surveyed, but you can pull out really key data points along the way so you can learn about your audience. And then here's the best bit probably. You now have information to hand that means you can segment your email list. So that it depends how many you've got on your list, and it may be for when you've got more on your list, but I always say segment from the start. But once you've got a list where you know different segments, you can then put specific marketing messages out to each of those segments. And the best way to explain that is, say you're selling, I don't know, raincoats, and you have a quiz and you have a red, a blue, a yellow and a green raincoat, and you have a quiz that asks what's your favorite color or what favorite style, then you promote the red raincoat to the red segment, the yellow to the yellow, and so on. So it's really, you would do it a lot more sophisticated than that, but yes, it's a really, really good way to not only segment your list, but also send very specific marketing messages to them. Hopefully this is all making sense, guys. I can't see you anymore because I've moved you, so I feel like I'm just talking to a pink screen, but anyway. Okay, so let's just move on to the secrets to unlocking their quiz magic. So fundamentally, the very first thing you need to do when you start a quiz is work out why you are doing it. So I'm sure some of you have taken quizzes before and you don't really know where they're going. You don't know why you're being asked a certain question. And the reason for that is quite simply is that quiz does not have a focus. So if you don't know why you're doing it, you can't design a quiz to lead to the ultimate outcome, which is to push them into your funnel, which is obviously then to sell them something. So promote a launch, grow your audience, and sell a specific product or service. So that's similar to the slide I mentioned before, but those seem to be the three key reasons that people would have a quiz. And the reason, what am I looking to say? The times when a quiz works best for you. But you need to know this before you begin. If not, you're kind of flailing around. It makes it a really difficult quiz to write, and it also makes it a really difficult quiz to consume. Okay, you need an amazing hook and promise. So your hook is the reason people are going to take the quiz, and it would become your title. So you need something that's going to entice people in, that's going to give them something intriguing or interesting or valuable, but you need that as the very top. So your title needs to be something really amazing that makes you stand out from the rest, and people are actually going to want to take the quiz in the first place. There is zero reason, there's no point in having the most amazing quiz If you don't get your hook right, then people just aren't going to take it. And by not getting your hook right, I mean the boring quizzes that are out there. This is my opinion, but quizzes that are like, what is your leadership score? I think are getting lost now, or what is the best social media platform for you? You know, they're just dull. So you need an amazing hook to get people in the first place. And then you need a really, really good promise. And that would become your subtitle. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. But your promise is why, what's the point? You know, so the hook is what you're going to tell them, but the promise needs to be why that's a good idea for them to find out, what the benefits of that are, and, you know, kind of what it means to them. So I'll show you a couple of examples. So this is Jenna Kutcher's course. I don't know if any of you know Jenna. So and actually I should say, this is an early quiz. So she was a very early adopter with quizzes. So this one, I would imagine if she revisited that, she would need to kind of spice up that hook but it's still interesting enough. What's your secret sauce? For me, this one doesn't really demonstrate in the hook who this quiz is for, because that could be for anything. And it could be, you know, it could be for a chef as much as it could be for a digital marketer. But it's an interesting enough title that people are going to be a bit intrigued about it. And then here we have the promise. So how to own your awesome, stand out from the crowd, build a successful biz, and have fun doing it. So here is where she's saying, I'm going to tell you what your secret sauce is, but this is why it matters, and this is what you're going to get from it. And then curious, have 45 seconds, take the quiz. Just a little aside, it's always really good to tell people it's not going to take them very long, because everyone's time is super precious. This one I love, and as people go, what? But I think this is a really well-crafted promise, particularly. And it also, again, back to my point, everyone can have a quiz. So how well do you know your pelvic floor? Now, I really should download this, because this is actually a GIF of these ladies dancing, which I just think is really funny. I think it's brilliant. But take this 2-minute quiz. 2 minutes is too long, but to discover what you need to know to have a functional and strong pelvic floor, plus get insight into what's going on in your body and how to feel more confident in it than ever. So you can see from that, if we break it down, she's telling them the facts here. So first of all, here's her hook. That's interesting. Maybe I need to know about that. Then she's telling them the facts, what they're kind of the strong, hard facts that she's going to give the quiz taker. What do you need to know? And then she's talking about what the benefits of that are, how you'll then feel confident in your body. So that's a really good example of how the 3 elements of hook, what she's offering and the benefit work really well together. The next thing is you need questions and answers that deliver. So I wonder, the average time, I think this is actually shorter now, but the last bit of research I did was that they were saying the average time it takes to finish a quiz is 90 seconds. So people will fly through your quiz, which is fine, but it also means you have got a very, very short amount of time to make an impact. Now, I talk about this a lot because I'm going to move off that annoying arrow. I talk about this a lot because this is what I think. Like, you want to build your email list, right? You want as many people on it, or you want to build your audience generally. You want it to be the right people. However, if somebody takes 90 seconds to complete a quiz and you make it a not very memorable quiz, they've forgotten you, so you haven't made the most of the opportunity for them to come into your world. So they've come into your world, they fly through your quiz in 90 seconds, they get the results, and they may at that point choose not to leave their email address, which is a pity, but all is not lost if you make sure that your questions and answers work really hard for you. So just as I showed you the example from Shanti about how she was teaching about her service in the process of the quiz, there's so many little interesting techniques that you can do to make sure that even if they don't leave their email address with you, that you have engaged them, entertained them, and made yourself memorable. So next time, if they're coming across something that you said or is out there, or somebody or in your industry, you are going to be remembered. And if you're putting the time and effort in to make a quiz, then it's really important that you do that. So I've come up with a framework which I use with my clients, and it's a terrible name, but it's a really good framework, but it's called the SOFTY framework. And if anyone else can come up with a better acronym for it than that, then please do let me know. But I'll run you through this quickly because I think this is really important. And as I say, it's the issue with a quiz is that you will normally not get people to leave their email address till after they have taken the quiz. Now, some people do that a different way, which means that you could lose the opportunity for them to even get their email address. So this mechanism is what I use in my clients. So we make sure that the questions are ticking off all of these boxes. So the first one is segment. So I talked about it before, but do you have a question that segments your audience? So do you have a question that allows you to put your audience into segments that are going to be useful and relevant to you? That is more of a higher level kind of strategy, but as I say, it's worth doing it from the offset. You're going to have an outcome-based question. Now, that's the question that everyone does. So an outcome-based question is one that will point your quiz taker to their results. So an outcome-based question will map directly to one of your three to five different results. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Future pacing question. So future pacing is a technique I really like. It's where you put your potential customer in the position of having worked with you or having purchased your product, and how does that make them feel? I'm going to do some example of these, guys, don't worry. Teaching I've talked about. So a question that teaches your audience or your quiz taker about you and or your product. Empathize. So empathy is a big one. Have you got a question that is demonstrating empathy? Because a good quiz should be like a conversation between you and the person taking it. So it needs to be coming from you. So you need to show your quiz taker that you get them, that you understand with them. Because if they don't feel that, and it's so fundamental, but if they don't think you get them, they're not going to leave their email address. And then finally, engage. So as I mentioned, it needs to be a fun and entertaining experience. This isn't a Myers-Briggs or a psychometric assessment. You know, this is a quiz, and people take quizzes and use them, the results very much in the way if they were reading a fun horoscope. So it needs to be engaging, it needs to be interesting, and they just need to enjoy it, because there's no point otherwise. So I'll show you this really quickly. I'm just checking we're out for time. Yeah, I'll show you this really quickly. So this is the quiz that I talked about, that my very first quiz, which was aimed at artists and creatives. So I'll fly through this quickly. But basically, this first question here is a segmentation question. So I'm interested in working with a whole range of different artists and creatives. But it's really useful for me to know what they do, because then I can send out, as I say, different offers or different things that I'm doing based on their industry. So this first question was quite a straightforward segmentation question. It is also a bit of a teaching question, because if you see here, there are lots of artists that can work with businesses. So the term artist is quite broad. It can involve dancers, musicians, everything I've got there. And a lot of people don't think they could possibly work with a business. So not only is this segmenting for me to use later, this is also teaching them that, you know, this could be right for them. This is a quite straightforward outcome-based question. I'll not go into the strategy behind it. But basically, at the end of the quiz, my artists got given 5 different results, sorry. So either to do community projects, to run events, to sell their work. I can't remember what the other one was, but each of these kind of related. So if you wanted to make the world a better place, I would suggest that you then went on to look at working with businesses on their corporate social responsibility. Improving their lives was suggesting that they use their arts talents to teach people, and then making the world a beautiful place was about selling their art or running events. So hopefully that makes sense. Future pacing, I think, really speaks for itself. You've just won an artistic retreat of your choosing. Where do you pick? So this is helping them think, oh, you know, and actually I would change this one now. So I would change this, because this is actually relying on luck. I would change this one now to say, okay, imagine you've just landed a 5-figure contract and you're going somewhere to celebrate. Where do you go? But this is just simple future pacing. It's just kind of putting them in that kind of positive space of thinking what could be possible if they were to work with me. Again, this is a teaching question. What excites you about the idea of working with businesses? So each of these 4 here are what I tell artists and creatives all the time that they would gain by working with businesses. So second income stream, broadening audience, and so on and so forth. So similar to Shanti's question, I essentially listed the benefits of this led to the course, but the benefits of kind of taking the course and then working with businesses and putting it there. It also demonstrated quite a bit of empathy in this one. The ability to create a second income stream without selling my soul. A lot of artists think working with businesses is a terrible idea. They think that they're selling out. So I put that there. And then also, I really like wearing a suit. Hate to break it to you, but you will never have to. So actually a bit more of a teaching one there, as well as empathy, because none of them want to wear a suit and they all think they have to. And then finally, pretty straightforwardly, and engagement. So this is just showing that the use of fun images, and empathy as well. So this is a big empathy question. How do you honestly feel about the idea of working with businesses? So I wasn't doing this quiz and taking them through the quiz and getting them to, tell them this is amazing, this is brilliant, don't worry about it. I was demonstrating that I knew here how they felt. Either some of them think it's a great idea, some of them think they're selling their soul, and others are unsure. So that's just a really simple way of demonstrating empathy. So even though that softy framework maybe sounds like a bit complicated, it's so easy to put all these elements into your quiz. Very quickly, because I'm conscious of time, guys. So next kind of secret is to make your results page like a mini sales page. So they'll get their outcome, they'll be told what they are, what their result is, but then you're going to put them onto either a page on your website or within your quiz platform. And it needs to be a mini sales page. Again, you've got them. So don't necessarily overwhelm them, but make sure you're getting all your core messages out to them. And the key thing with that is make it personal. Don't let them think they've just wasted that full 90 seconds of their time and then you've given them something that isn't relevant to them. So you need to give them their results and an outcome that feels personal, that feels like you've heard them and feels like you've actually taken the time to give them a solid result. Went the wrong way. Engaging, as I say, still gave you 90 seconds of their time. Make your results page fun, the way you would do a sales page anyway, but make it fun, interesting. I've just done a results page for a client and we put Spotify playlists in, for example. Michaela's quiz that I showed you earlier, they got to download a free meditation MP3. So make sure it's kind of a fun, interesting, engaging results page as well. And you can use video to really lift that if you're comfortable with that. Make the results that you're giving them positive. No one wants to hear they suck at life. My quizzes are all super, super positive, and then we move them into here's what you might want to address, and then we position my client or whoever I'm working with as the expert, but keep it positive. And promote action. So always tell them what happens next. Don't leave them hanging. Tell them what you want to do next, whether you're pushing them to a low ticket offer or a kind of another freebie, or whether you're just simply telling them to join your Facebook group and stay in touch. Give them an action. Don't give them their results and then just go, right, away you go. Even more quiz secrets. I'll rattle through these. So firstly, when you're writing your quiz, if I haven't put you off totally, reverse engineer it. Always start with your why, your quiz purpose, and write your results first. It's 10 times, not even 10 times easier. It is infinitely easier to write your questions and answers if you know what results they're pointing to. I actually don't think you could do it any other way. Keep it fun and easy to complete. I say no more than 10 questions. Personally, I think 6 is a bit short. I think sometimes if you do very short quizzes, you're like, oh, is that it? How could you have made how could you give me an informed result? So my recommendation is 8 to 10, but everyone does their own thing, right? So it's up to you. But yeah, that's what I would suggest. Loads of value, especially in your results, but also, as I said before, peppered through your question and answers, and just make it fun. Have loads of fun with it. This is fun, a fun thing that people are going to want to take. It's tricky if you've got a harder topic. I'm writing a quiz at the moment for a wealth coach, and it's will you retire rich? And obviously some of those results are like, you're in big trouble, but we're still making it fun. We still have to have fun with it, because people's frame of mind when they're taking a quiz is a fun frame of mind, like a light experience. And so just always remember that, because otherwise you're just going to throw people off kilter. They'll be like, I didn't sign up for this, I was just taking a quiz. I'm not going to talk through this, but I have a freebie. I've put the link at the end of this, and I'll give it to Sophia as well. But this is a canvas that I've developed to help you put into place everything you need before you even start writing your quiz. I don't know if any of you know the business model canvas, so this is kind of modeled on that, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I never know how many there are, about 9 different areas that you really need to think about before you even begin. And we've talked about a few of them today: purpose, hook, and promise. What IQT is who you want to take your quiz. The segments is how you break your results down, what you want them to do. And then this is all about infusing your personality, how you're going to promote it, what you want to find out, and the tone of your quiz. And that was the quickest run through of that slide I've ever done. You can download that there. So if you want to, I'm actually going to add onto that the link for the webinar. So I've just finished some webinars, because I'm currently running a group coaching program. I've got 9 little Quizlets going through it. I've got a big mission control board over there I keep looking at to see where they all are on it. But I'm going to add the webinar to that workbook. I'll actually do that tonight. So you can actually then go back if you want to at least watch the first bit of the webinar, because it's really useful, and it does talk more through the quiz canvas workbook. And then I always say that this is the very first lead bag that I did, so it probably needs updating. But when I started writing quizzes, what I did was took 1 million quizzes and reverse engineered them myself. So, and then tried to work out how to do mine before I did any training. Now I've done all the training now. So I've done Ryan Levesque's training, I've done Shanti Zach's training. Anyone who puts a quiz course out, I'm on it. But I do recommend that if you're thinking of writing a quiz, do your research, look into as many as you can, because you'll get so many brilliant ideas, and there's so many awesome quizzes out there. So that's just a list of 9 that I have put together that I really like, and I just talk about a little bit about them in it. So that's a bit of a lighter touch freebie, and I think I might be done.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry, I also do have a very short pop-up product. If you're interested in that, that's that link to that.
Amazing. And guys, I'm going to also have all these links too. So if you missed that, like, I will give them all to you. Okay. So, oh my gosh, Heather, thank you so much. Yes. Riley was like, are so cool. I agree. So we're going to open the floor to questions. So I know that there are a few, and Michelle's actually been dropping in a few, but I just wanted to also just clarify that I understood this correctly. So the SOFT framework, SOFT, yes. I actually really like that name, because
I'll keep it.
The idea is that you basically have a question per letter, right? So there's an S question, an O question, F question, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's more that you need to check that you've checked off all the things. So I think there's like, you may have one question that demonstrates empathy and leads to an outcome. So It's more that once you've written your quiz, you kind of sift it back through and make sure that you're you're covering all the bases. The reason I think it's a terrible name is because it kind of completely goes against my hardest working quizzes on the internet, and then I've called my framework the SOFT framework, but it's stuck actually, and people do like it, so we'll keep it. Yeah, so you don't need one for each, and actually you shouldn't have one for each, because you probably should have at least 3 outcome questions if you're going to give a robust result. You don't have to. And that's the other thing to say, actually, when you write a quiz, some people make the mistake that they think every answer has to lead to a result, and it doesn't. You can map it so some questions are totally relevant, but they're working hard for you, or they're working hard for your quiz taker. So if you have 7 questions, they don't all have to point each to a different result. I should put that on the secrets, actually, because it's a common mistake that people make. And I think it stalls people because they get wrapped up in, well, what does this mean and where does this go? So yes. You can actually have one question. I don't like it. And I think it's a bit of an integrity issue, again, if people have given you their time, but you could have a quiz that had one question that led to a result. And that's something Ryan Levesque would talk about doing. I've suggested it to I've told certain clients about it, and they just get a bit of a, I don't know. So it's a personal thing, but yeah, but you could have one.
Ooh, I kind of like that idea of having one, because it's just like,
I just feel mean if they've gone through everything. But as long as you're giving value, it doesn't matter, right? So as long as you're giving them a ton of value at the end of it, the process is probably by the by. If you've got one question, you're going to get the most accurate result, because the more questions you put in, the less accurate the result's going to be. Because
okay, awesome. Well, I know that so I want to let people come on and ask their questions, but there are a couple that got placed in the chat, so I'm just going to kind of read them through.
okay.
I want to find the very first question that you asked, but I can't scroll that far back. But your latest question was, what platforms do quizzes work best? And then she writes social media platforms, like, for example, could this go on Instagram? I think she means sharing the link to go on Instagram. Right, Michelle, just confirm.
Yeah, yes. Michaela's quiz that I talked about, she used Instagram a lot, so she would put it out on her reels and her stories every other day. Facebook for ads, and I'm not a Facebook ad expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had clients that have worked well with Facebook and Instagram ads, that kind of combination. And as I said, you get really good cost per click. They just seem to be way lower than anything else. So if you're into Facebook ads, then it works. I actually have another freebie to add to my list. I went from having one for 6 months to suddenly having all the freebies. And I'll send you the link, Sophia, for that one as well. It's just a list of 50 places to put your quiz stroke. Although not quite as good lead magnet, I think it's something like that. But it's like there's some fun ones you haven't thought about. So I just pulled all that together. It's actually a resource I give to my clients, because the biggest mistake you will actually make with a quiz is putting it up once and going, why is it not working? And it drives me insane. I don't know if I told you, Sophia, I had a client who has a group of about 3,000 people. She got about 300 people take her quiz in the first day. So put it on the group, did really well. And then she wouldn't put it on again. I was like, 2,700 people have not taken it. And she was like, it's not working. Other ones are working better. Because you put it out once. And she didn't really talk about it. It's the same as anything. You need to just push it. And that list is quite good, actually, for all the ideas.
A lot of people do feel like they overshare sometimes. They feel like, but aren't I being redundant? Like people have already decided if they want to take it or not. So for you, and I would agree with you, it's still like, just keep sharing it, because the algorithm doesn't always show it to the same people every time, first of all. But even if people do see you post it more than once, I don't think it offends anyone.
I don't think so. And if they've taken it, especially if they're in your group, for that example. I mean, but that's why I would also recommend that you put it out in as many, like have it at the bottom of your email, blah, blah, you know what I mean? At the bottom of your email, on your 404 page, put it on your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram profile, your Linktree, whatever it is. Have it places where it sits permanently, and then push on the other ones. And then I think you can maybe hold back a bit if it's all, if people are gonna come and find you, and then that's what they see, like have it on your site and everything like that. By the way, I'm the worst example, because I don't have a quiz for me, because I've been so busy writing everybody else's. I'm writing it at the moment, I promise. But it's so funny. I give all this advice, and I'm like, everyone's like, where's your quiz? I'm like, it's nearly there. So actually, I'm writing it while I go through this. So I've got this group coaching program at the moment. I've got 9 people on it, and I'm writing mine with them, which is quite fun, because they're getting to see my process while they're doing theirs. So also, I can't tell them that they can get it done in 4 weeks, and then I don't get mine done. So that's the reasoning behind it.
So I'm gonna get that link. You said that you wanted to share a list of 50 places to share your quiz. To answer your question, Michelle, about where this would be most successful, which is so generous. Heather, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh, not at all. It's just a little document. It's not a super fancy.
Oh, that's okay. I tell people all the time, lead mags don't have to be fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, there was another question. Caitlin, does that mean there should be a different results page for every result option of the quiz? Is that a way to make it more personal to the quiz taker, or is the freebie a way to help them feel seen? There's a couple questions in there, I think.
Lovely. So you will need one results page for each of your results, because that's the whole point, is that you're giving them a personalized experience. And then what you can do, so just to give you a bit of tech stuff. So on the two platforms I know about well are Bucket and Interact, and I'm an Interact consultant, so I have to say that they're the best, or they come and take my firstborn apparently. But yeah, they're brilliant. Interact is a brilliant platform, and Bucket's really good as well, but Bucket would be a lot more expensive. But sorry, on both of those, you have the option to host your results in the quiz software. So you'll either go through to the end, the result will be on a not quite as nice looking page, but it will give everyone an individual result. So, but you're just confined to their kind of style and formatting. What I recommend, if you're going all in, is to set up hidden pages on your website for each result. So, for example, on my creative superhero one, basically I have my website, and the link is QZ CSR, for example, QZ employee. So people won't find it, but they go to it, and then you've got all the control to put in a video, to put in links, to put in a download file, to use your own, and it looks like you're also driving traffic to your site. So it's kind of win-win. It takes more work, of course, but yeah, it does take more work because you're not just dumping text in, but it's worth it, and that's, if you've taken the effort to get them to take your quiz, you've got them to the end of it, and presuming you've required them to leave their email address, that's a lot of work on their part. You now need to fly in the value, so make it look gorgeous for them. And you can, so much more fun, you can do so much more with it if you do that. So I also and then back to the lead magnet. My structure for results would be that I do a video. This is my ideal one if I can get clients to do it. So I do your results are in, this is your result. Then I do a video explaining it, because again, they get to know you. And as I'm sure you're aware, different learning styles, not everybody will want to watch something, but they'll want to read it. So therefore I put text underneath. Then I do a demonstration of expertise, which is just you give them something of you. Then I do a bit of a who am I to be telling you this? And then in the next steps, that's where I would put in things like additional lead magnets. So if you've got a lead magnet that is relative to each of your different sections, brilliant. If you haven't, it doesn't matter, but try and make sure that their next step that you're asking them to take makes sense based on the questions they've answered for you.
Yeah. And also
this is why my quizzes work really hard, because a lot of people don't do all this. So this is kind of premium quiz lunch. And actually I should change. You can make a much simpler quiz, but this is me kind of saying best practice. But yeah, but just make sure they don't. I always tell this story. So I once took it because there's a skincare lady in the UK. She's brilliant, really, really like her. She puts together these skincare bundles. So she kind of like, do you guys have Glossy Box? I think, don't you? Those kind of thing. Anyway, bundle. And she did this quiz that was like, which member of Duran Duran are you? So firstly, like, it's a bit weird. Why is Carl? I don't know if anyone saw it. And you got through it. And I was delighted. I was Simon Le Bon, big 80s kid. It was all good. And then it was like, buy this. It just didn't make sense. And it was the last thing I wanted to do, because I actually felt frustrated that I'd spent all of 20 seconds probably, got a picture of Simon Le Bon, and then was told to buy a skincare box thing. So that's probably, I pitched her actually, I emailed her to say, do you want me to fix this? But she didn't come back to me. I think I might have annoyed her. But yeah, so all I'm trying to say is don't frustrate your quiz taker, even if they've taken 20 seconds on it.
It also sounds like, to be honest, that this kind of goes back to how you started it. Like, you have to know what the quiz is serving, what the objective is. Are you just growing your list? Are you selling into something? Are you, seeding something else? Like, what is the objective of the quiz? And it almost sounded like she talked you into taking a fun quiz and then pitched you a sale that didn't quite make sense with the quiz. Is that is that right?
Yeah, she kind of got me in at the top, didn't she? And it was fun. Oh, that's interesting, but it had no relevance. And then I had to be offered even to say, if you like Simon Le Bon, your skin's probably in a terrible state. You need this. If you like Harry Styles, it's probably not quite as bad. That could have done it, right? That would have been relevant.
Exactly. So that
very presumptuous, but relevant. Yeah. There was, and it's funny actually. One of the issues, I have a lady doing the group coaching, and she's a weight loss coach. So she obviously has a nightmare with things like Facebook ads anyway. But that is one of her worries, that she thinks people are going to have been sucked into it, and then at the end of it they'll be like, you're just trying to sell to me. And I'm kind of like, well, you are, but as long as you're giving them value, same as anything, right? Same as any of your lead generation efforts, as long as you're giving them value, they're not going to feel like that. But if you are just doing like the skincare lady, then they will feel like, no.
Totally. Okay, there's a couple questions, guys. If you, can you raise your hand so we can bring you on? Jen, I just saw your question pop on, and I see Yvonne as well. Jen, do you want to come on and talk to Heather instead of right in the chat?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, you remind me so much of Sharon Hogan from Catastrophe.
Is that good?
It's amazing. Yes, she's hilarious. She's Irish. I know you're not Irish, you live in Ireland, but
maybe I've absorbed
I'm like
it.
Sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, anyway. She's a brilliant actress and she's hysterical. So yes, it's a compliment. So I have an existing quiz that I created last winter. So, and it hasn't, and I feel like there's a few things. I feel like a lot of it's the hook. There's like language issues, and I just haven't been able to crack it. I was looking on your website. I noticed you do like 1 hour calls. Is this something that I could like book you for an hour to like review an existing quiz and just be like, this is where maybe I'm like missing like a step or something like that? Because I've done a lot of what you said, but it's still, and I work with actors, so I noticed like that seems like you have that in common a bit too, like creative. So I'm like, ooh, maybe you'll understand what I'm going for a little bit better, because I'm like, I know I'm close to it, and I just feel like there's a few pieces that are missing.
Did you it's out there at the moment, Jen, is it?
Yes.
Have you tested it? So you tested it with people, so you have got it out. Are you getting any kind of?
Some, but not nearly what I was hoping for. And it just hasn't.
Are you running ads to it? Are you running ads?
I have not run ads to it yet.
Okay.
Kind of upon advice of a friend who is an ads person, because there was a period of time where like running ads was just insanely expensive and not necessarily performing. So I was kind of advised to just like hold off on the ads for a bit.
Okay. No, I've heard that.
Revisit it maybe in a couple months.
Yeah, more than happy to have a look through it. The way that works is basically people send me it beforehand. Now I'm saying this like I've done hundreds of them. I think I've done 4 or 5, but you get quite a lot into an hour, but people send me it before, then we jump on a call and then I record it. So you can concentrate basically, and then
tear it apart. Perfect.
Yeah, and then I go right, just rip it up, begin again. No, not at all. There's always stuff to be got. But yeah, more than happy to do that. I think you can book that directly from the site.
Yeah, I was looking. Cool. Before I booked something, I want to make sure that was something that you did with people who have an existing one, versus because I feel like the idea is right. I feel like it's good for like what I'm trying to do, but I think there's some language things, and maybe it needs to even be just a little tighter or clearer. So
and it might be a copy. I don't know if you do copy, or you
and that's I actually worked with in like another group that Sophia knows to create the copy and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Sorry to take what's up. Is it on Interact? Which platform is it?
It's on Interact. Yeah.
Right, okay. And do you have the analytics,
the results pages? I do. I feel like I haven't looked in like the last 2 weeks because nobody new opted in the last couple of weeks, but I could look and send you that too, and to send you a screenshot.
Yeah, brilliant.
You can see how badly it's performing.
And we can have a chat anyway.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Yvonne, are you there? Do you want to pop on and ask your question? She's asking for recommendations. Yvonne, are you there? No, I don't think Yvonne's there. Okay, so I'm going to read this question. What are your recommendations to upselling them to a Tripwire small offer, or send them to a webinar with a goal to sell to a course or book a call? So I think she's kind of asking like if the objective was to actually sell, what would your tweaks be to the quiz?
So, well, I don't recommend you sell to anything less than about $50. More than about $50. It's just based on what I've seen work well. I think, as I said before, people are in a lighter frame of mind with a quiz, and too much of a sell is not going to be the right kind of next step for them. So I recommend that If your product's under $50, work away and put a link to it, but add value as well, capture the people who aren't going to go straight to a sale. I run 5 email sequences, not 5 email sequences of 5 immediately after the quiz. The first one will give them their results, and then I tend to introduce any upsell or any sale in the 3rd or 4th. Did I answer that right? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, no, that is. And actually, you're kind of saying, because her second part to that question was, or would you, or send them to a webinar with a goal to sell to a course or book a call off the webinar. So it kind of sounds like that same idea. If you're going to sell to them right away, make it less than $50, or you could funnel them into a webinar where you can sell a higher ticket offer there.
Yeah, I haven't done that. That was the plan for my last webinar, but the quiz didn't get done. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a really good funnel, because if they are interested in taking enough from it, then the webinar feels like I talk about micro commitments. I'm sure you guys have covered all that, but you want them to make a micro commitment and then you kind of move it up, don't you? Funnel, whatever way you're going with it. So even booking on to a webinar at that stage as your next step. So I recommend 3 next steps of varying levels of commitment. So the very micro is join the Facebook group or sign up for my list, join the Facebook group. But you probably have already signed up for the list, but that's an interesting one, actually, but that's for another day. And then maybe a bigger one. So your webinar may be your midway one, but even asking people to download the meditation is a micro into their world, isn't it? You know, you're saying, I want a little bit more. So that's what I haven't tested many on webinars. I haven't done many with webinars, but that's how I imagine it would probably flow the best.
Let me break this up for how I'm understanding it, just to make sure that I'm making this is correct, right? But it almost sounds like, for me, and this is how I craft all my offers, I kind of imagine the journey I want my client to take, right? So for me, it's very unlikely someone's going to buy into, I'm just going to make something up, like a $3,000 VIP day off of any lead magnet, right? Off of any lead magnet, whether it be quiz or something else. So for me, I have to think about that journey and people feeling nurtured enough to want to take that step. So for me, they take the lead magnet. So in this case, it would be a quiz. And the whole objective of the quiz for me, again, would be to get them onto my email list, right? Where then we have this relationship because they're in a sequence. I might invite them into my Facebook group off of their results. I might invite them. Sometimes I even just invite people into my Instagram DMs. Like I'll say something like, DM me the word like, or oh, you know what I do actually? I say, DM me the word whatever if you're excited about your results, or I follow up myself and create that connection, right?
Yeah, love
because if
that.
they're on the email list, now they can get nurtured to that high sale offer. But there's always that beginning part where it's not selling, it's engagement oriented. Is that correct?
Well, that's just, yeah, I agree. And that's why the 5 emails. So normally the 5 email sequence, a lot of my clients only want 3 actually, but I think 5 is better. And then it pushes then you put them into your normal. And the way that works really well is you can still continue to reference the personal stuff or the results. Now, not too much because they're like enough already, but, so say, for example, say my events hero for the quiz, my quiz, I talk about that one the most because I know it so well, it's easy for me to talk about. So they find out who they are. I maybe wouldn't mention it in the second one, but in the third one, I might say, because you're an events hero, and it just referencing back again why you're in their world and just kind of making it kind of congruent with the whole quiz process, but then pushing them onto the normal list. But yeah, definitely they're not good. And that's what I'm saying. A quiz is like, yeah, it's a quiz. Oh, this is fun. There's gifts and images and it's bright and whatever. It might not be bright. You don't all have to do bright. That's just this form of Gothic being like blue, red, yellow, blue. But yeah, it's an experience, and it's how you can show yourself off. But it needs to be that. I don't quizzes that are very salesy, even through the process, you sometimes feel that you're being led. Like, have you ever taken a quiz where you're like, there's no answer for me here because actually that's not right, that none of those fit, and they're just trying to get, like, which would you like to buy? Well, none of them, so I think a quiz is, it's really top of funnel because it's the first fun, light experience.
Yeah,
but can work really well, but can work so hard for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. And actually, Amy just came in with a question. Amy, if you want to pop on and ask it, but I can also read it. I'll start reading it but pop on if you want to talk it through. But Amy writes, with money quizzes, she's a money coach. With money quizzes, do you find they still need to be super fun? I know my current one needs to be tweaked, but I kind of created it and abandoned it because I kept hearing we weren't getting qualified leads. Since money is a serious topic, I want it to be congruent, obviously. Oh, Amy's on.
Hopefully it's not too loud in the background. My headphones are not working. So, but yeah, I've created the quiz. It was finding your money animal personality. So what your money habits, how they mimic like what animal in the animal kingdom, trying to make it like fun kind of in that way. And I just pulled up my stats now because like I seriously don't promote it. It's listed in like a couple places, but I kind of like went through all the work, created it, results, email sequences, all that, and then like didn't do anything with it. But yeah, so like with money, I know you mentioned that you've worked with a couple different like money and wealth coaches. Does that differ any because of the topic?
Not if they get me to write one. It's like, you're getting all the gifts, I don't care. And actually we have like, we've had to change it. We had, because hers is, so she's a wealth coach, so her 4, and interestingly, it's another interesting point actually. So she has 4 results, and it's from people who are still in debt potentially, and then to people who kind of need to do more, people who are doing something, and then people who already got everything. So actually she's only interested in category 2 and 3 as customers for her, which is absolutely fine. And that's another thing about quizzes, the qualified ones you can kind of bin off, you know, as you're going through the quiz. So like for I think we had, you guys probably don't know where Scarborough is, it's where I was born, but it's a seaside resort in the north of England. And it was like, you know, you're going to Saint-Tropez, or you're on the bus to Scarborough. So we managed to put quite a bit of humor into it, you know, in the kind of the reflection of it. So I don't know. I think, like, don't get me wrong, you don't have to make every quiz a big, massive laugh fest. And I think there's ways you can still make people want to be entertained, but they also like to find out about themselves, which requires that self-reflection. So it's tough though. It's a tough one. And actually this lady, Vix, hers is, there's like, even if I'm talking about it now, I tighten a bit because there's one question and it's like, which of these do you have? And I think this may be an issue for you guys, because even in the process of taking it, it's like, oh, I only got that, and that. Like, should I have this, and this? So I think even though it's a serious topic, you almost need to lighten it to get people to respond. And I suppose you also need to work out what information do you really need to know to give them a result that's valuable, because that's all you're trying to do here. You don't need to ask them about everything, because presumably you then kind of come in as the expert to help them on the areas. But even if it's not fun, I still think it needs to be light. I still think, because people will drop off, they won't want to take it, because they may have come across it on a Facebook page and be like, oh, this is interesting, and then they're like, actually, you know, I'm on my lunch break, or so I do think it's framing everything in that more light, what's the word I'm trying to say, approachable, accessible way, so that people feel comfortable taking it and aren't put off. Don't.
I know. I was like,
mine, they're pushing through the window.
I have a thought here. And again, I'm not the expert on quizzes, but just like from like what I've looked at with content and stuff, I think that I'm trying to think about, like, there's some magazines when I was growing up, like when I was having like a mega heartbreak situation. I was a kid, right? But still, it was serious for me. You know what I mean? I was like really sad. I was really heartbroken. And I don't know if you remember this from magazines when we were kids, but there was these quizzes, like find out what kind of lover you are, or find out why he cheated, or like really serious stuff. But it was like in a quiz. And I have to say, even though I was coming to it seriously, the quizzes were lighter. Like they were like, they were talking, like the wording that they were using was very like girl power oriented. Like, yeah, he sucks, but you do this. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do. But my point is, I think that there is a strategy in making things light and accessible, because it makes people more inclined to kind of dive in because we're like just curious about it. You know what I mean? It seems a little like, and it seems more fun to do. So I'm just thinking here, I don't know the answer to this question because I'm not in your industry and I'm not a quiz expert, but I'm thinking like if we're looking at top of funnel, like the point of a quiz is to get as many people into your world as possible and see, and hopefully they get weeded out from there based off of the questions that are being asked, the language that's being used and how they're segmented. But if we're looking about it that way, where the strategy is to get as many people in, I do think it has to speak to as many people as possible as well. And it just seems like from social media in general and how this whole like edutainment, where you're educating but entertaining at the same time, is like the big thing right now. It seems like the data is there to suggest that the lighter angle is important, even in a serious topic. But I wonder if, kind of like what Heather suggested in the beginning, if doing like taking a bunch of money quizzes out there and just seeing what your industry is doing right now and what's working might give you more solid feedback on that.
Amy, I have a list of them that I sent to that client, so I can send you them through if you want to message me on Facebook or something. I think the key thing is, so the other thing I haven't really talked about in this, but you're obviously putting your personality into it as well. So, I mean, if you're a money coach who is tough, get it done, rah, 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 you know, stop spending that money under that kind of thing, then that's gonna, if you're more of this nurturing kind, we'll get there together, that's what the tone of your quiz needs to be as well. So you kind of need to feed that through. Do you see what I'm saying? So when people come in, and it's all about the demonstrating empathy. So when people come in, they're like, you've got this, I've got you, you know, and that's, you word that in through the questions. So my questions are a bit wordier than a lot of people like, but I stand by it because I think you can get messages across, and if people aren't interested, they'll go anyway. But yeah, you know, you're like, when you come to the demonstrating of empathy, it's like, I know this is a big deal, but could you just answer this? You can do anything with it. The way I often tell people to think about it is, imagine you were at a networking event or you met them somewhere, like, oh, you know, who are you? How do you do? You know, you wouldn't go straight into somebody and go, right, how much debt have you got? What are we doing about this? You would nurture them in it. And that's what you do in a quiz. You see it as a conversation, and it's a lot of the work goes into that. This is great, actually, because I'm thinking all this stuff I need to put in my course because I'm building it as I go. But a lot of the work goes into the flow of the questions, so that you don't jump in with the hard rah. You lead them to some of the more awkward questions, and then you leave them on a high. 100% always leave them on a high, which is where you can use your future pacing. But the empathy, I think, for yours would be a big one. They need to see that you get them and that you're the person to help them, and it's going to be the way you do it. If you are a hard-nosed wealth coach, well, then that's fine, because you're going to repel the people you don't want anyway. I doubt you are. But do you see what I'm saying? So that's where the empathy and your personality, the way you word questions, that they're not just transactional, they're kind of conversational, is probably the quickest way.
And I have another thought here, which I feel like this conversation is between the two of you, and here I am like, me too, I have a thought, so I hope it doesn't come off that way. But like, I actually just had this thought in my brain. A lot of it is also in how you market it, right? So for example, let's just say, Amy, you're like, it really doesn't resonate to make light of this money topic. Like, I just can't find a jokey way. I'm not finding my groove with this. It's just not working. You could, in your marketing of it, you could like address that. You could say, look, I know there's a lot of fun quizzes out there to help you discover what cheese you are or what Disney character you are, but I'm gonna be real with you. Money is a serious topic, and I've got real solutions here. So if you want a real shit quiz that's gonna give you real answers right here, right now, spend 90 seconds and take it. I'm not gonna make you laugh, but I'm gonna give you some solid results. Like, it could also be in how you position it. You know what I'm saying? So you're actually—
Love that.
You're also you're addressing the fact that it's not fun, and that's going to make people be like, ooh, I'm kind of, now I want to take it. Now I don't want to be entertained.
Even saying that, as you say, if it's your lunchtime, right, we don't want to talk about it now, take some time, sit down and go through it. But yeah, brilliant, love it, because people then aren't going to be like, what the heck? You're actually asking me that for.
Yeah. How does that?
Yeah, because I think like I can approach it from that edutaining way, and I'm sure I tried, but I know I've improved that skill since I've created the quiz. So it probably needs a revamp for sure. But then I'm just, because there's a lot of like, okay, you think you're doing great, but you're really not doing great, that I have to deal with.
This
Like-
is exactly the same as the one
Yeah.
I'm doing currently. Yeah.
So then I can address that even like in the nurture sequence, and like as I'm working through people, it's like, okay, hey, wait, maybe I do actually need this instead of trying to be so on the nose. Because I mean, I had the funnels built in my email sequences, so that's helpful. Thank you.
It's all about going back to the purpose of it as well. Are you doing this just to get people into your world so you can then move them, or are you doing this to sell a specific thing? And that's going to affect the tone of it, where you go in at the, you know, what stage you're going in at with them. So
That's helpful. Thank you.
message me anyway, and I'll send you the list that I have already kind of compiled for this lady.
Oh, that's so generous, Heather. Thank you so much
No,
for
not at
doing
all.
that. All right. Do we have? So we're 13 minutes over. Do you have to go, Heather? Because
I'm going to have to go quite, as I have one child. I'm in my office and she's pushing through the window, but I can answer a couple more. She's disappeared for a bit. Sorry. God love her.
If anyone has a question, why don't you unmute yourself and ask it? I think the only one who I think I did see a question, but I don't think I got to it was Michelle. I think I missed one of your questions and I can't find it. So Michelle, if you're still there and want to pop on and ask it, I think it's Michelle.
Yeah, one of the first things that you were saying about the hook, and sometimes I have trouble with the hook. Now, Sophia, you were just ripping and you were doing good things, but sometimes I have trouble with that. Do you have suggestions for how to create better hooks?
Yes, Michelle, I wish I did. Well, I do. Just so you know, you're not alone, because just to give you the background, I'm running this quiz group coaching, but it's a beta, and it's a full-on beta. So I did the training on Monday, and then they've all come back to me on, I still don't know what to do. So I obviously wasn't, and they're all like finding the hook. So I talk about things like things that you're always asked. So is anything in your industry that you're always asked? A question that comes backwards and forwards. So I have a guy I've just written a quiz for, which is which entrepreneur should you model yourself on? But he's always asked about productivity techniques. So it's become a productivity quiz because people always want to know. It's things like, you know, don't turn your phone on in the morning, all that kind of thing. So we've worked all that into it. Common misconceptions, if there's anything that people get wrong. That's quite a niche one, actually. People don't often have that. What else? But my biggest advice is write 100. Just write them. Go to bed, look at them the next day. They'll be way better than you think they are. When you're writing them and then writing and judging, then you'll not get very far. Let me think about what else. There's some lovely, you can do really fun things as well to kind of, it's all about understanding who you are and what you want to put into it and kind of making it your. So for example, so on my one that I'm doing, I want to do a quiz on this, exactly on this actually. What's the best topic for your quiz, title and topic for your quiz? So I'm trying to work a formula out so people can actually block it in and then make it better. So actually that's my quiz. What is the best topic and title for your quiz? To turn it into a hook, I'm looking at some of my brand elements, like I talk about quiz magic and just making it more interesting. So there's been a few iterations of it, but it's currently sitting at something like, what quiz magic could you sprinkle on your business? Take the quiz to find out the perfect title and topic framework or something like that. So it's looking at your individual personality and brand tone and bringing it to life. So the process I'm taking my guys through this week is actually, they are starting quite boring. And then we're trying to morph it into something more engaging and interesting and a better hook. But the key thing you need to have is what your topic is and what you want them to learn at the end of it as your basics, and then play around with it, take different kind of angles at it, mix different bits in, and yeah, just write a whole load. That wasn't a very good answer, I'm afraid, but yeah, I would try and just stream of consciousness it.
Yeah, you know what, Michelle, I had a thought here too, and it's very similar to what Heather is saying, but there's a couple of tricks that I do. Wait, I can't see your face, and I have issues with talking to people when I don't see their face. Where's Michelle? Okay, hey, Michelle. Okay. So this is First of all, I do think like writing 100 is actually a good idea, because it kind of gets all the cobwebs out and it forces you to stop judging it, because the idea is to just get as many down pieces of paper as possible, right? The second thing that I have done is I will go into Google and I will Google like Cosmo magazine or any type of magazine that I kind of think like my ideal audience may be reading, right? And I just look at the titles of magazines, right? Like there's some really fascinating wordings and the way that they've shifted things and put words together that really catch my eye. And I get a sense of, it doesn't have to be on brand. It doesn't have to be about what I talk about. I'm just looking at the way that they've worded things together. Like, for example, one that I remember seeing was like, let's talk sex. And I remember being like, what? And yes, it was about sex. So maybe that's why I was interested. But also it's that demanding, like, let's talk blah. So I can make that, let's talk shitty engagements. Let's talk, that kind of, the way that wording is can get the juices flowing, right?
I'm writing that down, Sophia. I'm stealing that.
The second tip I have for you, and this is not a tip I can give here. However, in the Facebook group, I did run people through an exercise and a Facebook Live video to come up with hooks for your Instagram Reels. Now, I'm not going to say your Reels are the same as your quizzes, right? However, I think the exercise will help you kind of get ideas around what topics to make your quiz about and how to come up with those topics, because it's all based on what your audience is asking for and how to kind of pull that language out. So what I'm going to do, Michelle, if you can do this for me, write in the Facebook group, like, hey, Sophia, just a reminder to share that training with me. I'll find it for you and I will tag you in it.
Can I get that, Sophia? Can I be cheeky?
Absolutely get it. And Heather, your homework assignment is to email me and then I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool. I'm actually working on some, because it's funny, because this arts business thing, which is my other business, it's all about using the arts and creativity to solve a business problem. And it's so funny, it hadn't even occurred to me to pull that into this work that I'm doing. I just have been working on this, like I've learned about quizzes, I've studied, I've done my. And it was only the other day I was suddenly, because I was talking to a lady who's a business poet. So she goes into businesses and uses poetry to help people with copy and language. And it's brilliant. I love it. It's all what I used to do. And I was like, what the? So now I'm like madly going back to think about how I can infuse that kind of like that, exactly, looking at magazine techniques or writing your own Amazon review. What would your book title be? All these brilliant things, like making your clients, like everyone talks about ideal client work, but what's their dream board? What's their Spotify list? All these things that open up these different things. I think it's just magic. This, and I can't believe I've been churning away and thinking, look, you've got all those tools were just sitting there, but you did that for 13 years. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Can I ask one thing too? So when you were saying that, especially like Google magazines and things like that, so I have headline software that helps me build better headlines. So would that kind of be what a quiz would do too? Is I could use that?
Your hook is a headline. Your hook is a headline, but in a question format, I would say. So it needs to resonate. It needs to use interesting language. It needs to be relevant, all those things. So I would say that's, I'm getting so many tips today, guys. This is good. I'm going to write that down. Headline software. I didn't even know that existed. Brilliant.
I also think that like, just to never forget to use the language of your audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think this is the biggest, most important tip in the entire world that we all know. And then when we like are writing our bios, it just slips out of our brain and we forget to do it. Like, but for me, like using the word of your language, using the word of your language, using the words of your audience is really how you pop off the page. That is the secret, right? Yeah. Even like every single time I share the title of this membership, what the heck to post to someone cracks a smile every single time because they're like, oh my God, I say that all the time. Yeah. And they all think they need it, even if they don't. They might not be my target audience, but they think they need my membership because I'm using words they use, you know?
And going slightly off here, and I will have to go in a second, but a really good thing to do, I don't know if you've seen this exercise before, is to go and look at Amazon reviews in your industry of books. So say you're a productivity coach, for example, go and look up a productivity book and you will see how people have reviewed the book, and you do a little search for there's a formula, but or you can just search for it. Struggle with or tired of, that's the best one. I tired of, and then if you do that search within Amazon, it all comes up, all these brilliant. That's hard to do because it is a formula, but you can just go through them. And because people are talking about your topic, and they'll tend to tell you in a book review the transformation that book has had on them, unless it's a bad review. And that's what you're looking for. And then you can pull out there. So I actually have, for all my clients, when I start, we do voice of customer research, and we just have a spreadsheet and we literally go through everything. I have voice of client research and voice of customer. So voice of customer, I'm putting in what their customers are saying on a spreadsheet, simple as that. Just anytime I see something, ping it in. And then I have voice of client research, which you guys don't need to do if you're writing your own quiz, but that's when I go through all of their stuff and listen for ways that they're saying things, so that when I'm writing the questions, because as I said before, it should be you asking them, I can feed all that in.
I love it. That's such a good tip. I love that. Okay, so I know we have to go. Everyone's
sorry.
But I'm just gonna recap what we talked about, because you guys really do have some actionable things to take action on. Step one, Heather has generously provided us with a what did you call it? The quiz making canvas?
Quiz model canvas.
Quiz model canvas, to kind of get all of our ideas out there so we can put something to action. She's also given us a head start on looking at other quizzes for our market research, so we can kind of get an idea of what people are doing. Then she's given us the Softy framework, so we know what kind of questions to be asking and to make sure that we're ticking all of our boxes. Again, that's SOFTEE. And then she's moved us into another free gift that offers 50 places you should be sharing your quiz to get as much top of funnel reach as possible. So we have really covered those three, like getting started, taking action on a strategic quiz, also the results secret of having, like, making your results page a sales page, so golden in my opinion, and then moving into actual sharing it. So in my opinion, we have all the information started, right? Of course, we're gonna like have trouble. Of course, we're probably gonna like need to talk to each other and be like, oh my God, what the heck? We need to get Heather back in here to talk about whatever, right? But if you do get stuck at that point, you know where to find Heather. Her website is Killing It with Quizzes, right?
Kill it with quizzes. Knowing just.
I love it. Killitwithquizzes.com. Just very aggressive.
That's why I wear pink.
But we have what we need to get started, and the software that she's a consultant on, and that everyone in the chat when she was talking about it was like, yes, I love Interact, seems to be Interact. So that's where I'm going to probably get started on mine. So this was brilliant. Thank you so much for your amazing help, Heather.
You're so welcome. So nice to meet you.
Where you've given us some lead magnets, and I'm going to provide the links as well, but where can we like follow you and stay in your world? Like aside from on your email list, are you on social media? What are you doing with life?
Too busy. No, I have quite a cool Instagram page. So you can Kill It with Quizzes Instagram page, but look at my grid, because I'm very proud of my grid, but I don't do much else. Or you can get me on, I do a bit on LinkedIn as well. I really need to up the ante on all that side of things. But I have a Facebook page, but it's quiet. I'm going to get told off. I'm not going to talk anymore. You're going to tell me off, Sophia.
Well, I know. I was going to say, Heather, I know the membership. It's called What the Heck to Post. You happen to know a few people in it now.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant. Super. No, I must take a look, actually. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But here, I better go and... come here.
Yes, tend to your children, please. Go be a mother.
Even a baby. It's a big, massive 14-year-old. So, right, guys, it's so lovely to meet you. I'm going to jump off, though, if that's okay. And listen, message me if you have any questions, any follow-up. Honestly, more than happy to hear from you. I'm going, Jessica. I'm coming. Right, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
See you later.
Bye, Heather.
Bye.
Our next call, everyone, for those who are still here, there might, unfortunately, Jill is having a lot of health problems. She was going to come and do some sales coaching with us. She's going to be such an epic caller, but I don't know if she'll be able to be here at the end of the month, but don't worry. Like, you know me, I've got a few things cooking. You're going to be very happy. I promise you, but we might have to push that call a couple of months because she's developed some vertigo. We don't know why. The doctors can't figure it out. she's throwing up a lot, and I just don't want to put any pressure on her right now. So I think I'm going to let her push this until 2022 if she needs to. So I'll keep you guys updated, but you'll know soon enough once I get someone solidified in here. Or hell, maybe we'll do a fun thing with just me and you, because like we got a lot to talk about. So I'm sending you all so much love for an amazing weekend. Thank you for being here. And if you do run into any questions, or want to just consult with, I mean, I'm not a quiz expert, but like I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. You know where to find me in the Facebook group, and I cannot wait to see you guys in our next content schedule, which will be delivered on Wednesday, but you got a whole fresh new one inside the Members Hub right now. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Mwah.